News.
Well, our morning meteorologist, Justin Chambers, is not just a meteorologist, he's also a pilot. In fact, this weekend, Fox 45's Patrice Sanders mustered up the courage to join him for a flight around Maryland. Take a look and a listen.
Yeah, come on in. Come on into our little plane.
So, yeah, a little.
Perfect.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it's small.
We'll be up here doing our stuff.
I'm going to go up right now with him and just go up right now and just do one lap. I got a headset on you right back there. You just put it on. You can hear us.
Okay, come on. Let's do it.
You want to do it?
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Have fun. Have fun.
All right. It's Patrice and Justin's maiden voyage.
Oh, wait a minute. You got to read the instructions.
What? It's called a checklist.
Okay.
Everybody does these. Ready to go? Yes. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
And that would be rotation right there. Justin's got rotation. Patrice is hanging in there. She's got her phone up, and they are doing it. Now, it did get kind of difficult for them to hear up in the sky, so that's why I'm kind of taking over here. But as you can see, Patrice and Justin made it back safe and sound after a scenic trip around Carroll County. She is courageous. Justin is quite talented. And look at the beautiful view that they had. You can kind of see it there through the windows. Nice. Great job, guys. We're coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock. Closing arguments are finished in the federal trial against Marilyn Mosby. We'll have the latest on today's proceedings. And an update on that assault in Butchers Hill 3 months ago, why charges are only now being brought against 3 suspects.
Closing arguments are over in Marilyn Mosby's mortgage fraud trial. We'll have the latest on the case from the federal courthouse as it heads to the jury. Charges brought against 2 young people in an attack in Butchers Hill. How the charges are possible given the state's juvenile justice laws. And Fox 45 News hearing from a grieving mother why she says the justice system failed her daughter.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. Closing arguments have wrapped up in the second federal trial against former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. Her mortgage fraud case is now in the hands of the jury. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frostman following this trial from the very beginning. She joins us live from just outside the courthouse with more on today's proceedings. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Mary, it was another day of high tensions and emotions as closing arguments began earlier this morning. Now, there was some confusion late this afternoon about whether the jury was actually deliberating or they were sent home. But now we know the jury was sent home after 4 o'clock this evening, and the deliberations will continue tomorrow. But leaving the courthouse today, Marilyn Mosby was flanked by her 2 daughters and a sea of supporters. The former town prosecutor did not comment when we asked her questions as she made her way outside the courthouse and into a vehicle. Instead, supporters saying she had no comment. But during the day today, the jury heard closing arguments from both sides and prosecutors outlining their case, why they believe Marilyn Mosby lied time and time again when she was purchasing 2 Florida vacation homes. The prosecutors indicate that Marilyn Mosby did know about the tax liabilities and the tax lien that was on her home in Baltimore, but at the heart of the defense is that Marilyn Mosby had no idea and that the tax liabilities and tax debt was a secret that her now ex-husband, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby, was keeping from her. Now, throughout this entire trial, stretching into now week 4, including jury selection, the jury has heard several pieces of evidence, and some legal experts say it may take them some time to go through and make sure that everything is reviewed.
I would expect at least a day or two. Undoubtedly, there are significant documents the jury will want to take a look through, thoroughly review. Certainly, there could be, as the government said in closing, a magic mail elf. I don't think they're going to come and take any of the documents away from this case, but certainly it could be a significant question from the jurors to see the notices that would have been available.
Now, the jury does have what's called a special verdict form, meaning that they will have to go through each alleged false statements that Marilyn Mosby is accused of making and determine whether she lied. Now, ultimately, the jury will unanimously have to reach a verdict. And again, the deliberations will continue tomorrow at 9:30. Mary?
Mackenzie, what are we learning about a possible disparaging comment made about Miss Mosby?
Yeah, that was brought up today by the defense, and actually Judge Lydia Grigsby said that she had first learned about this last week. She said she heard that 2 courthouse employees made 3 or more possible negative comments about Marilyn Mosby in this case. She said that she was shocked to learn this, noting that this is very rare and does not usually happen during trials. However, she said that she believes that the jury did not hear those comments, so despite the defense asking for each juror to be polled, Judge Grigsby said she would not ask each juror what they heard because she was afraid that would actually introduce the evidence to them. We're live in Greenbelt. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
It's only a few years that we have these kids and are really able to affect change. So when you lose 6 months because DJS is ineffective, that is a tremendous amount of time for these kids.
The 2 juveniles accused of attacking a Butcher's Hill woman last November now facing a laundry list of charges, including attempted car theft, assault, and robbery. And while the victim says she's relieved justice is finally being served, she says she's wondering why it took 3 months. The incident was caught on surveillance camera back in November. You can see the 2 teens tackling the victim, then wrestling her for her car keys. The victim says a DJS officer initially told her the teens would not be charged due to their age. But just last week, she received confirmation that both the 12-year-old and 14-year-old suspects would be charged with several counts of theft, assault, and robbery. Public Defender Roy Hanna explains why these charges can be brought even under current juvenile justice reform laws.
As long as the top charge is a violent charge, then they can charge everything that is what is considered a lesser included count. So in a carjacking situation, a carjacking is a violent crime, but theft of the vehicle is not. So you can still charge it if the carjacking is charged as well.
In this case, robbery is considered a violent charge. As for why these charges took 3 months to come in, Hannah believes it was likely due to DJS's slow intake process. Fox 45 News has reached out to DJS asking why it took so long for these teens to receive charges, but the department says confidentiality laws block them from discussing specific cases. In Baltimore County, 3 teens are under arrest for shooting a 16-year-old in Rosedale Sunday. Police say at around 5:15 last night, a 16, 17, and 19-year-old attacked the victim, shooting him in the lower body. The victim was taken to the hospital. Police did not share his condition, but said he was stable. All of the teenage suspects are being charged as adults with attempted first-degree murder, assault, and firearms charges. The mother of a murdered teen believes the city failed her daughter by improperly charging the teen's accused killer. Alexa Asheville sat down with her mother and questioned the city state's attorney's office.
Janai Weeden was murdered back in 2021. At that time, Marilyn Mosby was the Baltimore City state's attorney. Her office, this mother believes, incorrectly charged the man accused of murdering her daughter. Sitting next to 15-year-old Janai Weeden's picture, Mother Tabitha Gary recalls the moment a jury last week reached their verdict in her daughter's murder trial. 18-year-old Zachariah Allison not guilty of first and second-degree murder.
It was painful. It was hurtful.
But with that hurt, the mother says, was frustration.
I feel like he was incorrectly charged.
Janai Weeden was killed in Baltimore back in August 2021. According to charging documents, following an ongoing dispute between 2 groups, Zachariah Allison, who was 16 at the time, walked out of a home and, quote, began shooting indiscriminately. Janai, who was about a half block away, was hit by one of the bullets.
Went all the way up the block and hit my daughter in the back of the neck.
The 15-year-old, who was just days away from starting her sophomore year at Carver Votech High School, who thrived in cosmetology, was killed.
She just was a great kid, had a whole life ahead of her.
Fast forward to last week. Allison stood trial for the murder of Janai. A jury found the 18-year-old not guilty of charges related to her murder, but guilty of reckless endangerment, assault, and possession of a firearm by a minor. The mother questioning, given the facts of the case outlined during trial, why the city state's attorney's office charged the teen with first and second-degree murder, but not manslaughter.
To me, it's an insult. It hurts me because he's able to come back out on this charge, on the streets, and never be tried for it again, despite all the evidence that led to him and all the evidence that was there that could have, for manslaughter.
Back in 2021, Marilyn Mosby was the Baltimore City state's attorney. Still, we sent these questions to the office currently headed by Ivan Bates, asking, does the SAO feel Murder 1 and Murder 2 were the correct charges to file against Allison based on the facts of this case, specifically when proving intent? Why or why not? Why was Allison not also charged with manslaughter? And does the SAO believe justice has been served for Weeden? Gary believes the answer to that last question is no. The mother not only in search of justice, but to ensure this doesn't happen to another family.
It's not fair to the family. It's not fair to her, like her life meant anything.
A spokesperson with the office acknowledged our request. We're still waiting on those answers. Allison is scheduled to be sentenced in April. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Controversy is building in Baltimore County over a proposal to rezone certain abandoned areas to residential and commercial spaces. The Baltimore County Council planning to talk about this legislation next week and could be voting on it at the end of the month. Some council members say they're concerned the developer-friendly bill will lead to more developments like large apartments along the York corridor without addressing infrastructure. Other critics echoing those fears.
Having the developers be allowed to do it by right, without regard for adequate public facility, overcrowded schools, sewer capacity, roads, things like that, and not having the county council involved seems kind of scary to me.
Baltimore County leaders argue the bill is critical for economic development. Fox 45 News reached out to County Executive Johnny Olszewski, but we were told he wasn't available to comment. The council member has also not gotten back to us.
Good evening. Another one in the books today, and this is the way February can often be around here. Temperatures are right about where they should be, too. Right now, it's 41 degrees up towards Towson, and everyone is mostly in the 40s across the area. It's going to be a little bit chillier as we move through tonight and tomorrow, but nothing we can't handle. It's going to drop down to the 30s by 8 o'clock, so this is going to be, again, some jacket weather if you're headed out, maybe to get some dinner or something like that tonight. But the sunny and dry weather is going to continue for the next couple of days. Then we're going to see temperatures really dropping off tomorrow. 60s are on the way, believe it or not, here before a possible stormier pattern is going to return. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up here in just a little bit, Mary.
A potential deal to release more hostages held by Hamas. I'm Atrel Nashar with what we know about the terms of the deal and what it could mean for the war in Gaza.
Israel is waiting for a response from Hamas about a potential agreement for a pause in fighting and release of some remaining hostages. This week will mark 4 months since those hostages were taken. Sinclair national correspondent Atrel Nashar has the latest from Washington.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken back in the Middle East. Landing in Riyadh Monday, top of mind as he meets with Saudi leaders, a pending deal between Israel and Hamas that could pause fighting and release some of the roughly 100 remaining hostages, as many as 6 Americans among them.
We cannot, with any clear sense, say the exact number of hostages, but we know that there are many.
As of now, the most viable means to that end appears to be what's being called the Paris proposal.
Hamas understand that basically the only meaningful card that they have right now, the only real leverage that they have are the hostages.
Ari Perliger, an expert on extremist groups, says Hamas wants these talks, brokered with help from Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S., to mark the final stage of the war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he insists on absolute victory. Families of the hostages continue to push Israeli officials to prioritize bringing home their loved ones over the military offensive in Gaza to eliminate Hamas, which has left more than 27,000 dead, according to the Gaza Health Ministry under the Hamas-run government.
It is clear that the threat to their lives is increasing the more time they stay there, and there's plenty of hostages that already were killed. My belief is that they are still being held underground. The pictures that were released shows that the hostages are probably suffering from malnutrition.
White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the ball, so to speak, is in Hamas's court to respond to the latest hostage release framework. Meanwhile, complicating matters are ongoing clashes in the region between U.S. forces and the Houthis, which, like Hamas, are backed by Iran. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Najjar.
Today is National Weather Person's Day, a day to recognize those who work in meteorology. And Fox 45 would like to say thank you to all of our meteorologists who work hard every day to keep us safe and up to date on our weather throughout the region. Of course, Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Happy Weather Person's Day, meteorologist.
Thank you, thank you. I know there's a National News Person's Day coming too. I don't want to miss that, but we have so
we'll remind
many.
you. How about that?
Yes. I didn't even know it was today until I look. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Here it is. It's just a few days after Groundhog Day, but I work with a spectacular team here, okay? Amy, Justin, Jasmine, with just the week that I've gotten to know them, they're really awesome people. Not only great coworkers, just great people. They've been so helpful. I'm very excited to be able to work with them. We're going to have a cool lunch meeting one day where we all just get to hang out and all that. So I'm excited. They're very, very cool people. Happy National Weather Persons to all of those out there. 41 degrees tonight. Okay, it's getting cold pretty quick. It got dark very quick, I noticed. Last time I looked at that camera, there was still a little bit of daylight, and snap your fingers, it's gone. 28 degrees will be your low temperature tonight. The good news as we go through February, we're going to gain about an hour of daylight. 30 minutes on the sunset and 30 minutes on the sunrise. All right, so what's going on? Out west, a pattern is setting up for them. They've really been getting clobbered with these storm systems coming in off the Pacific. Some of them will have an impact on us here. They'll likely not be the same sort of impacts. They are getting the brunt of it. So the mountains are going to do a good job of taking away some of the energy and moisture from those systems as they head our way. One to the south across Florida is exiting, so we're not going to have to deal with anything from that one, thankfully. What we will see are some actually influences from the system to bring in colder temperatures. It's actually going to pull a little bit more northerly winds, and that is going to drop our temperatures just a little bit more as we move through tonight. But as this next system approaches, the one off the Pacific, our winds will shift. We'll see our temperatures rising. Clouds will likely thicken up a bit, and we'll see our rain chances come up a little bit, but most of the energy is actually going to be missed off to the north here. So we're talking about a mostly dry cold frontal passage. We may get some sprinkles out of this system and possibly as we move into Saturday, but the question is what's going to happen after that point, and this is what we're going to keep our eyes on. Could there be a much bigger system behind it? One of our computer models, the European model, says, yes, this is what's going to happen. But the other one that we have, the American model, saying absolutely nothing's going to happen. So as you can see, they're in a bit of a disagreement. And we have to wait and see how the data is going to sort itself out. And we're going to have to watch. My gut tells me that this sort of thing may be less likely than something a little bit more on the mild side. So we'll watch that carefully. We'll bring you updates. Otherwise, your weekend right now, we're at least going to keep the clouds around. Chance of a shower, but these chances could go up or down depending on what's going on. Oop, don't want to give it away, the 10-day forecast. That's coming up a little bit later on, and we'll show you that in just a little bit.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This time lapse from the GOES 18 satellite gives a great view of all the rain the atmospheric river is bringing to Southern California. A separate storm system brought rain and marble-sized hail to Alabama last night. The ice is finally strong enough for ice fishing at Wisconsin's Asylum Bay. And that's the Colorado River as seen from Amtrak's Zephyr train between Denver and Salt Lake City.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
A bipartisan bill meant to enhance security at the border just released, but already its prospects look grim. I'm Christine Frizzau on Capitol Hill with what its supporters and detractors are saying. Tonight, the list of Republicans opposed to a bipartisan border deal is growing. They are speaking out after a small group of senators worked for months with the White House to come up with what some are calling the most sweeping proposal to our immigration system in modern history. Sinclair national correspondent Christine Frizzau lays out the debate taking shape on Capitol Hill.
The new normal of record numbers of migrants arriving to the southern border met with new legislation to try to curb the chaos. The $118 billion emergency security bill, which also includes aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, is meant to make the U.S. immigration system faster and stronger, according to one of its authors.
Changes the asylum laws, builds more wall, adds more detention beds, adds more deportation flights, changes this 10-year backlog that we're currently in now to weeks before people are actually deported. That's what the bill really does.
President Joe Biden and top Democrats also calling for swift passage of the bill.
This bill says America will step up to the plate and defend itself.
But the proposed sweeping changes to immigration policy may be already upended by politics. The celebrated bipartisan support in the Senate not reflected on the other side of the Capitol. Republican leaders say the bill is dead on arrival in the House. With complaints it gives too much money to non-governmental groups who care for migrants and increases the numbers of those allowed asylum and doesn't go far enough to crack down. But some accusing them of not wanting to help the president get the border under control because it's seen as one of his greatest weaknesses in the 2024 election. Former President Trump among the most outspoken critics.
Still, some Democrats say the bill is too Trump-like and makes it too difficult for many to qualify for asylum. This debate playing out here on Capitol Hill as officials in Texas have already taken over some parts of its border, with other border states struggling to keep up.
Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson heard about those struggles firsthand during a recent trip to Eagle Pass, Texas.
To process one just individual takes me like 45 minutes, one individual. You're talking about a group of 30 or something like that. Where are you going to put them? I don't have the space in my jail nor the time.
Time those pushing the new bill say is running out. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Okay, as promised, we have time for the 10-day forecast now. As we head into the next several days, it will be at least warming up a little bit. We have one drop in our temperature on Tuesday. Look at that, 50s as we move into Thursday, Friday, even 60s on the table for Saturday. Don't forget to come out and say hello to us at the Baltimore Health Expo that day, by the way. Chances of rain will stay pretty small Friday through Saturday. We'll see how Sunday and Monday are looking. Next week could be a little busier in our weather department, though.
Gerard, thanks. Well, finally tonight, our morning meteorologist Justin Chambers put on his pilot's hat this weekend and took Fox 45's Patrice Sanders soaring through the